On the way, gonna fade, let me charge my phone. Roll away on the wave, yeah, we hit the road. Cause tonight we gon' let go. For a week or so, we got all the shit we need. We're on 10 every day, it ain't nothing new. Iced tea, lemonade for me and the crew. Love the night away, shoot us to the moon. Catch us at the drive-thru.
Champion from Australia of Knight Rider Designs CQR Club, Jake Blackhall.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Chazlington Touring Car Championship. Once again on Monday evening, we're at Okayama for the next two rounds of the championship, rounds 11 and 12. We're getting closer towards the end of the season, and things are getting more and more exciting as we go along. A little announcement that should have been put out earlier over last week, but wasn't, is this man joining the championship, Billy Fletcher from Radicals Online. It should actually show up as Radicals Online Look Sim, so it shows how well I've done my job there, doesn't it? However, Billy's been very, very excited to get into the championship, and he's finally here. So welcome to Billy, and welcome to everyone watching. Simon Field rejoins us this evening in the Subaru. Just going to quickly click live, there we go. So another round just about to begin. The drivers, of course, in qualifying at the moment. And the times are pretty close as it stands so far, so I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how these guys go on. With the wonderful Windows warning sound there. Oh, isn't that loads of fun hearing that noise a lot, eh? So Billy Fletcher's stopped on track at the moment. Harold Stadler is currently top of the timing screen. Just trying to get it away from showing that it's a replay at the moment. Just having a bit of an issue with the L software. Ben Gregory's back in the season tonight as well. It's great to see Ben back in the TechSense Fitstyle Motorsport Fiesta. Dan McCauley, he also wasn't here last week, but he's back around to join us once again in the CQR Subaru. Steve Burke is doing all right so far, to be honest. 7th on the grid with his initial time. We have a 17-car grid, so we're far from having a small field on our side this time. Just trying to update some of the information on here. I'm sorry about this. You would have thought that being prepared, I would have done this beforehand, but no, it's me. I am really, really sorry. Michael Avdoka currently second fastest on a slow outlap at the moment. Ben Palmer is third. Pete Harrod is fourth. Those two, of course, battling for the championship lead. Mark Fletcher, he has a 100% podium record so far in this championship, and I will continue to go on about it until it breaks. He has qualified third and finished, well, qualified third or higher and finished third or higher in every single race he's taken part in this season. And hopefully he continues that today. Billy Fletcher then in the other Radicals car. And the Beetle runs a bit wide out of turn one. There was Anthony Woodward just going out of shot there in the pink and gold Never Quit Racing Fiesta. Ant's been really enjoying this championship. He's not been too disheartened by some poor results after contact with some drivers in certain races and other bits going on. He's just one of those drivers that just comes in and enjoys it for the sake of it. You know, it's what this series is all about. There's Niall Crowther of DC Racing flying down the straight here at Okayama. Brilliant circuit, one of my very favourites on the iRacing service. Another Windows warning for you there, just in case you forgot what it sounded like. But 5 minutes of this 10-minute qualifying session has already gone by. Dan McCauley has gone up to 6th. As we're on board with Dan now. If Doka improves, stays 2nd though, doesn't get a faster lap. Oh, Dan's gone deep on the brakes there. You can just see how hard it is to get this car slowed down. But Harold Stadler, well, very well done to Harold. He was saying that he wanted to put bets on for tonight of whether he'd make it round lap 1 without getting punted off, because he's done I think 1 first lap in race 1 in the last few rounds without getting hit off. Lewis Bibby just goes up to 7th place there. You can see a lot of drivers on outlaps, some of them still in the pit lane. Ben Gregory 13th there, Craig Evans 12th, Simon Field is in 11th. Now that I realise that there's 2 Fletchers on the on the timing tower with red stripes by their names. So what I'm just going to do, just to help you out, is I'm going to try and do a name override on here. So you'll see that we get B Fletcher. Let's see if this will work, shall we? There you go, B Fletcher. So Billy, and then we're going to have Mark as the other one. They aren't actually related either, I must admit. I thought they were for a while, being in the same team as well, but no. And that is how you dispose of a Fiesta by Lewis Bibby. That'll be an audiobook coming out very soon on Amazon. Another Windows warning sound for you as well. That's not going to be an audiobook though, I promise you that. Pete Harrod then in 4th. He's one I'm interested in at the moment. He was saying that he had a 52 flat in him earlier, and he's not quite done it yet. I'll show you the best lap times by the guys on the left-hand side. So 52.1 for Harold Stadler, and it only goes down to a 52.9. Simon Field in 11th place. So if you look at the gap between the whole field, there's not even a second, barely a second between the top 13, barely even 2 seconds to Niall Crowther, and he's 7/10 behind Anthony Woodward. So it's very, very close all the way up and down the order. It looks like the 2 Northern Lights racing cars of Josh Rayfield and Billy Rose aren't in the session, which is a shame. They were in practice earlier, but they haven't carried through to this one. Jake Robertson, I forgot to mention Jake, he's back tonight as well for Apex Racing Team in the number 22 Subaru Impreza. Jake's been providing plenty of banter in the Discord channel and throughout. But this is going to be a really, really good round, this one. It was great in the first season. Really, really strong grid there of 15 cars. It was the equal biggest grid we had all season. And this is actually, I think, equal to the smallest grid we've had this season at 15 cars. Niall and Jake having a little bit of a tap there. That will have invalidated Jake's lap, and he's going to want to get that car stopped and crack on with another one. Dan McCauley down in 7th place at the moment. Jake is up to 5th. Now Mark Fletcher is really taking this lap seriously, this slow out lap. We're going to go on board with him, put the pressure on. Dan McCauley goes top on 52.147. Brilliant stuff by Dan. What a way to make your return to the championship. Oh, and Mark's nearly dropped it on the final corner there. He's not going to get a good run now. He's a bit wide on exit, makes the most of it. These cars obviously not slowed down too much by the grass, but here we go then, over the line, onto the brakes. You can see where the track's been rubbered in practice. It gets a lot darker there. Clips the apex quite early, does Mark. Lets the car wash out wide to the left, and then before he knows it, he's back on the brakes again. Down to 3rd gear. Does he go down to 2nd? No, he stays in 3rd, keeps the revs low. Hugs it to the right, Make sure he gets his set up to the left. Don't let the car wash out too wide there. Up through the gears and once again onto the brakes. It's very, very sort of start-stop this track. Bring the hood up just so you can see the incredible acceleration of these cars. Around the right-hander, stamps on the throttle, doesn't let the car go all the way over. Need to be careful around the second to last. It's easy to go out wide. On the brakes, into the last corner. He's probably going to get another lap in his mark. Over the straight, look at the acceleration of these cars. Let's see what he does. Does he keep his... No, he's improved, but it's only to 6th. Is this going to be the break of the podium run? I hope it's not. Josh Rayfield is out on track in the Northern Lights Subaru, but I think he's not going to be able to get a lap in, so he's given up on that one. Jake Robertson has gone back down to 7th now after going up to 5th earlier. This is going to be his last lap of the session. Let's just keep our eye on who goes where. Doesn't look like... Oh, yeah, he does. He does improve. 52.3 goes up to 4th place. I'm going to keep that gap on there, actually. 0.2 of a second off pole and 0.002 of a second ahead of Ben Palmer. So very well done to Jake Robertson there. Here's Pete Harrod coming out the last few corners. Pete has the most pole positions out of anyone this season, and that's only 2, to be fair, but it's more than anyone else. Can he make it a 3rd in the other CQR Subaru and make it a front row lockout for the black and yellow machines? No Gefenku here tonight, by the way. I'm not quite sure why. As Pete does improve, but he goes up to 4th then, so knocks Jake Robertson down a position. And Mark Fletcher, it looks like, well, someone's just gone flying into the wall. Mark Fletcher finally comes to a close on his podium breakout, I suppose. Ben Gregory's in the gravel doing some donuts. Niall Crowther's doing some drifting, just because he knows that I'll always watch him at the end of these sessions. And we do have, I believe we'll have a 16-car grid. There may only be 15 on there, but they're just the 15 cars that have set times. As we watch Niall there perform some pretty decent drifts in the Fiesta, DC Racing Fiesta. And that will be the end of that session then. So as the overlay does its thing as it goes between sessions, we look to the grid for the first time then. So for round 11 of the Chazlington Touring Car Championship, Dan McCauley on pole alongside Harold Stadler, just 200ths of a second between them. Michael Avdoka and Pete Harrod on row 2. Then it's Jake Robertson just ahead of Ben Palmer in 6th. Then it's Mark Fletcher in 7th. Lewis Bibby in 8th. Billy Fletcher in 9th. Not sure what's happened with the Fletcher names there. It must have been something that I've done. And then it's Craig Evans rounding out the 10. Then it is Steve Burke in 11th position, just ahead of Simon Field. Behind him is Anthony Woodward. Then it's Ben Gregory, Niall Crowther, and Josh Rayfield, I believe, will round out the back of the grid. Doesn't look like Billy Rose is going to join us for this evening. So there's your track map. Looks very basic on here, but in these cars, it certainly is not. So it's McCauley and Stadler on front row. Then we have Avdoka and Harrod on row 2. Then it's Robertson and Palmer on the 3rd row. Mark Fletcher will not be too chuffed with being down in 7th place. But Dan has got it all to do now. He's got to try and make up some championship points after missing a round. I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to work with me on the Billy Fletcher, Mark Fletcher thing. I'm just gonna have them as Fletcher. It shows up on there. You'll get the gist. So I think because Billy Rose hasn't taken to the grid, then we will be waiting for a little bit more. Just see back there, Steve Burke 11th on the grid in a very bright yellow Team Lizard Motorsport Fiesta. It does stand out quite a bit, to say the least. Billy Fletcher, of course, on his season debut, 9th on the grid, just ahead of Craig Evans there. So place your bets, everybody, because here we go then. Round 11 of the Chazlington Touring Car Championship, Season 2 is away. And it's a great launch by Dan McCauley. Comes across to the middle of the circuit to try and defend. Looks like he's got it covered on Stadler then. We look back through. There's Harrod down the inside. Fletcher's come through a couple of places as well. Is there any contact further down the order? Oh, we've got Ben Gregory off the circuit. Lewis Bibby's just lost a spot to Mark Fletcher. Let's see what the concertina's like round here. Evdoka's a little bit sideways. Palmer's in the middle of it. Bibby and Fletcher are side by side. Niall Crowther's apparently off the track. Who is that? That's Josh Rayfield further down the order. Looks like Jake Robertson's off as well. Oh, he's hit the back of Mark Fletcher. Mark Fletcher's in the air. Jake gets a clip from Craig as well. Keeps it sideways. Steve Burke's on the left-hand side. There were 3 wide going into the hairpin there. Little bit of door-to-door stuff there on the exit. Can they get it all sorted out? Looks like they can. Nice and clear there. Oh, wow, look at that. Simon Field just down the inside of Steve Burke as well. These 2 veterans of BSR and iRacing. Oh, a bit of door banging there as well. Steve's been mugged off there and he loses out. But Dan McCauley leads them then over the line at the end of lap 1 from Harold Stadler. Pete Harrod is up to 3rd then, ahead of Evdoka. Palmer is 5th. Lewis Bibby is up to 6th place, gaining 2 places on lap 1. Mark Fletcher is still where he started, and then Billy Fletcher is behind him. Jake Robertson 9th, and Craig Evans rounds out your 10. And it's quite a sedate train at the moment, but look at this at the front then. Dan McCauley, all of the pressure that he's going to come under now. There is Harold Stadler behind in the Beetle. He's got his teammate Pete Harrod behind, so it's a bit of a double sandwich here. It's like a Big Mac. We've got a CQR club car, then we've got Fiestas, then CQR, then Fiestas, then CQR. And then the 2 Radicals cars are either side of the TechSense Fiestas car, Lewis Bibby, although Jake Robertson's just got past Billy Fletcher. He runs a bit wide though. Oh, Billy puts it down the inside. There's a bit of contact. Oh, the cars bang wheels. Billy's sideways. There's even more contact involved as well as Craig Evans gets in there. And they're in the wall. Oh, that's the fickle nature of these cars. Once they bang wheels, they do bounce around a hell of a lot. And they've both lost out there. Billy's not going to be too happy about that, but Craig just had to go for the gap. It was there. Palmer and Evdoka having a bit of a scrap as well. They just swap places and have swapped back. Palmer then gets through, actually. He would have been behind him before. I do apologise. That's my mistake. Let's have a look how he did that. Oh, Evdoka just runs wide in turn 1. Simple as that. Ben takes advantage. Nice run out of there. Gets the move done cleanly. Steve Burke and Jake Robertson are swapping places madly on the timing screen on my right. And they're still side by side here. Steve's trying to squeeze him. Steve doing a great job in this Fiesta, to be honest with you. Look at them still side by side. This is brilliant racing. This is what we want to see. Even more door banging on exit. Steve's a little bit sideways. Can Ben Gregory come through now and take a place as well? This is the battle for 8th, 9th and 10th position. Side by side across the line they go. Gregory trying to come down the inside a little bit and squeeze Steve into the corner. Steve holds his line. Manages to stay in front. Oh, it runs him out of the road a little bit there. Ben won't be too chuffed with that, but he's going to keep plugging away. Just in the background there, we saw Simon Field side by side with Niall Crowther. Niall 13th at the moment. Simon, good to have him back in the championship. He's not running as well as he would have liked, though. A lot of top 4s, and he even got a brilliant 2nd place at Brands Hatch early in the season. But there's your race leader then, Dan McCauley. At the moment, a bit of a gap for Dan. 2nd back to Harold Stadler, who's under pressure from Harrod. Then Evdoka has just got past Palmer. Palmer doing his usual then. Here he is into the pit lane. 3.5 minutes gone, though. Something tells me that something's not quite right there with that Subaru. We'll have to wait and see. Billy Fletcher, well, it was apparently going off the road, but what a drift by Billy. Manages to keep it on the racing line almost. Nicely played. But Ben Palmer then is still sat in the pit lane. Very strange. Sorry about the cameras flicking around too much. There is your first lead group, essentially. Dan McCauley then at the front of your shot. Stadler and Harrod just behind. Dan locked up a break there, I think. He's still 1.1 seconds clear. And he wants his teammate to keep putting the pressure on Harold Stadler for 2nd place then. Evdoka 4th, Fletcher up to 5th, Bibby up to 6th. So far, most places gained is actually Ben Gregory here in the Fiestas Fiesta. He's gained 5 positions. Steve Burke ducks into the pits as well. These are seemingly early pit stops for these boys. There's a couple of them going in as well. Ant Woodward looked like he was going to. He might have got a slow down there because he went over the line. Mark Fletcher's also in the pits. Do they know something I don't? We'll have to wait and see, but there's your race leader. We do have to look at these boys behind though. Pete Harrod really on a charge now on the back of Harold Stadler. Pete's been a real revelation in this Subaru. He knows how to handle a car sideways, but when you try not to get a car sideways, I wouldn't have thought Pete would be that amazing at it, to be honest, but look at his driving ability here. I know he does like a drift though, so I'm sure he has a lot of fun in these things. And Ben Palmer is ahead of Mark Fletcher after the pit stops they've had. So as usual, Ben Palmer leads the cars that have pitted. He's very good at this. This is why he's leading the championship. I didn't go through the championship points earlier because I did update them, but for some reason it won't display the graphic, which as you can imagine is loads of fun. so we'll try and get them updated before race 2. And we'll get all that sorted out for you. Avdoka here, he's just sort of sat behind watching these pair now. He's got obviously one of his teammates in front of him. He won't want to get too involved in case he messes it up, but yeah, he's just piling the pressure on Pete here, and I think he's just got Pete thinking in the back of his mind that he can't really go for too much of a move, because otherwise he could compromise himself, as Simon Field and Billy Fletcher have been in the pit lane. Ben Palmer then leading still the cars that have pitted. Oh, Pete's gone a bit wide there. Avdoka down the inside, doesn't make contact. Nice, respectful stuff. You can still see Dan there out in the lead as Avdoka comes in the pits then. It's a very tricky pit entrance for these guys, because you'll see now, look how far down the cones are. You've really got to get on the brakes, get it stopped in time. Nicely done by Avdoka there. Jake Robertson goes past down the straight. We'll keep our eye on Ben Palmer then. Here's Ben coming around the second to last corner now. Look at the patience involved trying to get this car around these corners smoothly. You just see the inputs. So Avdoka's going to be coming out the pits any second now. And Ben is in front. There is Avdoka. And is he going to get passed by Mark Fletcher? Mark comes around the outside, doesn't get the overlap though. He's going to stay in 10th place, sorry, 11th place for the time being anyway. Of course, some of these guys have not pitted yet. Pete Harrod goes past Harold Stadler because Harold's going into the pits. I got a little bit ahead of myself there, got a bit too excited I think. Easy to do in a championship like this. Hope you are all enjoying the stream so far. Racing's been great so far, it's not been too messy. Harold Stadler and Anthony Woodward then in the pit lane. There is Ant just going in now. Now you see he's slowed it down early there because he doesn't realise that the cones are a lot further down. Some of the boys were telling me about this earlier. Niall Crowther goes flying past. He's up to 7th place at the moment, just sort of keeping his nose clean. Up to 6th place now. Into turn 1 he goes in the DC Racing Fiesta. Looks like he struggled to get it slowed down a little bit there. So here's Palmer, and he's got past Stadler. Stadler's come out quite a bit behind these boys, and he's involved now with Mark Fletcher in that fight. So Avdoka's got ahead. Stadler's just trying to defend here as best he can from Mark. There's going to be contact. A little bit of a tap there. Brilliant stuff from these guys to make sure the contact wasn't too heavy and none of the cars got launched around. Harold really on the attack now. Can Mark defend this? Onto the brakes he goes, gets it turned in. There's a bit of a tap there. Get out of my way, says Harold. I've been turned in off by half of these boys. I'm not letting you get away with it. Mark slides wide. Harold still not giving him the time of day. Very close to more contact, but eventually gets it done. That was brilliant to watch. There may have been a bit of contact to initiate the move, but, well, it could have got worse than that, and it's not curtains yet. Good respect between these boys. As Niall Crowther goes into the pit lane then. The only cars that have not pitted are actually Niall, and then Evans all the way up to Macaulay in the race lead. Jay Robertson and Lewis Bibby are apparently quite close on track as well. Jake currently 3rd at the moment, doing everything he can. Niall's just coming out of the pit lane then at the bottom of the field. And Lewis Bibby goes into the pits then, leaves Jake on his own. And the 2 race leaders here, Dan Macaulay and Pete Harrod, are still just out on track. You can see Jake in the background there. These guys are making this car last as long as possible out on track. Same with Craig Evans as well. It's all the Subarus going for this strategy at the moment. Although Ben in the other Subaru, of course, doing quite the opposite. Looks like these boys are close together once again. Stadler and Fletcher side by side at the final corner. You can see the car twitching around as they try and get on the power. Mark's just trying to annoy Harold Stadler here by weaving around behind him. I met Mark at the weekend at the Autosport International show. He's a fantastic lad. Loves his banter. Really chirpy guy. But he's a ferocious racer though. He's so quick. Really putting the pressure on Harold Stadler now, and Pete Harrod has come in the pits. You'll see it on the left hand side there on the timing tower. Pete Harrod into pit lane. Jake Robertson goes through, he does not pit. What's Craig Evans going to do? Look how close Fletcher is to the back of Stadler all the way around these apexes, man. It's ridiculous. These are the closest 2 cars on track by quite a distance as well. You can see on the track map on the right hand side that they are quite compact. So Pete Harrod's coming out of the pit lane here. And Ben Palmer has gone through. There is Harrod just behind. He's going to be right with Avdoka if he doesn't get turn 1 right. There is Evdoka. He is still ahead then, is Pete. But Ben Palmer, once again, pulling an absolute blinder here by getting that early pit stop. Surprises me that not more people go for that. But Palmer could effectively lead the race after this. Just depends on what Macaulay's doing. Jake Robertson comes into the pits then. And Dan Macaulay's still out. He's on lap 13 now without pitting. Just in case you don't know, none of these guys take tyres when they're in the pits. They all just tend to go for fuel. Because the amount of time that you lose for taking tyres just isn't worth it. Craig Evans goes through as well and doesn't pit. Where does Robertson come out? So there's Palmer going through. There's Jake leaving his pit box now. There goes Fletcher and Stadler almost together as one. 8th place then for Jake Robertson. Lewis Bibby is the next car back with Steve Burke just coming into turn 1. So the only 2 cars not to pit are the guys at the top. You'll just see it there on the graphic. Evans and Macaulay, the 2 Scotsmen. They must be scared of the fuel or something. Must think it's Iron Brew. I suppose if they thought it was Iron Brew, they'd come in. So Dan has sniffed the Iron Brew then. He's got a whiff. He's realised it's the original formula, not the new one. And he's thought, I want to get me some of that and get this Subaru on its way. Craig's done the same. They must have pulled the lid off. Look at where Ben Palmer is, though. Craig's just come in the pits and Palmer's already going past. Now, is he going to come out ahead of Dan Macaulay then? We go on board with Palmer. Dan's on the pit exit. There he is. And is he going to get it done? Just about. By the smallest of margins, Ben Palmer takes the race lead. Dan's going to be fuming with that. I mean, it's his teammate, and of course it's a CQR 123 at the moment, unless Michael Avdoka has something to do with it. But Ben Palmer then, leading the race from Dan Macaulay. These boys fighting for third and fourth, and then Stadler's just pulled a bit of a gap to Fletcher with Robertson behind. Then it's Bibby, and then it's Burke just behind him. And Simon Field rounding out your top 10. Ben Gregory's had a bit of a quiet one at the moment. He's down in 11th position. Billy Fletcher just in 12th. I don't know why I went for a Yorkshire accent then. Craig Evans is behind him. Oh, Gregory's messed it up on the brakes. He's run wide. Is he going to lose the spot? Billy's gone down the inside, but Ben manages to just straight line the corner enough to keep the place for now. That's quite a close scrap between those boys, actually. Craig's got a first-person view of this to die for. We'll give it a watch. Look at them trying to get as much speed as they can through the final corner. Down the straight they go. Whoa, Craig gets all out of shape on the brakes. Is he going to hit the wall? He just gives it a kiss. The car will be all right, though. But it's Billy Fletcher then still chasing Ben Gregory. These were 2 other guys that were at the Autosport show as well that I saw on the weekend. I'd say it was a pleasure to see them both, but it wasn't a pleasure to see either of them. Billy then obviously making his debut. He's probably going to be enjoying this. I mean, we had a good laugh, to be fair, at Autosport. He's a good guy. But we look back to this. Stadler still has that pesky Fiesta behind him of Mark Fletcher. Still chasing him down. Look at him closing and closing on the brakes and around the apex. Mark has got that thing absolutely nailed, but Harold just gets the exit that he needs. It's such a balancing act between these pair. As Dan Macaulay was apparently off the road for a moment there. Stadler runs a bit wide, trying to get away from Fletcher. Oh, it looks like Billy Fletcher's got past Ben Gregory. Out of turn 1, he goes down the inside and through into 11th he goes. Probably a good thing he does drive the Beetle, actually, it's Billy, because he's about 9'8". Somehow Harold holding on here against Fletcher. Avdoka seems to have lost Pete Harrod. He's having a bit of a lonely one in 4th now, but it's more points for him. But this will mean that Ben Palmer is going to extend his championship lead even further if it stays this way and take one more step towards the title. Going into this race, he actually had a 27-point lead over Pete Harrod. Now that's an entire race wins difference. And it's going to grow even further than that now. Because with this, he's going to gain, if I can do my maths, he's going to gain 7 more points on him He plays it into the last corner, and it's going to be a CQR 1-2-3 for the Subaru Imprezas, but it's Ben Palmer taking his 4th win of the season at Okayama ahead of Dan McCauley and Pete Harrod. Great result for CQR Club. Then it's Michael F. Doker in 4th, Harold Stadler 5th, Mark Fletcher finishes in style but breaks his podium record, especially in qualifying. Jake Robertson across the line there in 7th place backwards. Bibby 7th. Is Steve Burke going to launch it up the front of Roberts? No, he knows he's got direct drive, so that's a bad idea. Simon Field finishes in 10th, and here's the rest of them. Billy Fletcher across the line, Ben Gregory, Craig Evans, and this is the usual madness. Anthony Woodward, I think, might have run out of fuel at the end there. And rounding out the field, 15th, Niall Crowther coasts across the line there to complete the race. What a fantastic first race of the night that was. Some of the boys out there doing some drifting. Dan McCauley, though, great performance by Dan on his return to the championship, but surely he won't be happy with the fact that he didn't quite get the race win. Billy's trying to do some drifting. Simon's doing a bit. Ben Gregory there rounding out the donuts. And for the first time tonight, we'll bring you the race results then. So Ben Palmer takes an emphatic victory, his 4th of the season, like I say, ahead of Dan McCauley and Pete Harrod, just another second back in a 1-2-3 for CQR Club. Michael F. Doker in 4th for TechSense Fitstyle Motorsport, ahead of Harold Stadler there with Mark Fletcher in 6th. Jake Robertson 7th, just 10 seconds off the leaders, with Lewis Bibby in 8th. Steve Burke, another top 10 for him, more solid points for this evening. And Simon Field makes his return to the championship in 10th. Billy Fletcher, who just flew past the camera there, is in 11th place, with Ben Gregory 12th, Craig Evans 13th, Anthony Woodward had another bit of a quiet race there in 14th place, and Niall Crowther in 15th, with Josh Rayfield and Billy Rose not taking the start. So it's that time of night again for me to just take a break for a few minutes, and we'll bring you race 2 and 3 in just a few minutes' time. Gonna go get everything sorted for you, so if you give me a few minutes, I'll be back with you, and I'll give you the reverse grid in a moment actually, so do not go away. and the reverse grid was 14, which will mean that Anthony Woodward goes on to pole position for race 2, just ahead of Craig Evans, with Ben Gregory and Billy Fletcher on row 2. We're just going to get the second race of the night launched in just a moment, so bear with us and we'll be back with you very soon. I just want to quickly apologise as well for some of these images in this slideshow of the Chazlington Touring Car Championship stuff. They don't seem to be the right aspect ratio or something for some reason. So I'm sorry if they look terrible. And they seem to do this funny resizing thing, but it's the best I've got to deal with it. What I am going to do is turn the music right down so you can probably barely hear it, and I'm going to bring in someone who was incredibly close to the win in that one. Dan McCauley joins us. Dan, that was looking your way then until Ben's strategy paid off. How did you find that?
It's just a bit gutting, to be honest. It was a really good race. I surprised myself with pole, with somehow managed to do that lap, and then I kind of thought Harold and Pete would be on me the whole race, but I just seemed to manage to have an edge to pull, like a second gap, and then that kind of forced them two to start battling, and it just made it kind of comfortable for me. Then I had a bit of an issue with the wheel cable, and yeah, then the pit stop happened.
Yeah, I was speaking to Mark Fletcher before the race got underway, but he was saying he doesn't really know what Ben's doing in the pits, but he needs to figure it out because he's so good with that strategy, isn't he?
Yeah, it's what either works or it doesn't. It's a good way to get out of traffic if there's going to be a close battle like what Pete and Harold are having. Just means that we all know how fast Ben is. He can just do his laps out in front, comfortable, and make up his time that way rather than trying to overtake people. But it can also not work if the people at the front get a gap and then the car's running slightly heavier for the whole thing. So it's a 50-50 gamble, and that one seemed to pay off for him.
Yeah, it certainly is, and obviously you never know in these cars what can happen over the course of a race. You know, every single lap is a risk, really, isn't it? Because it can sort of go one way. You can just nail a lap with a bit of a slide that'll put you in the right place for a corner one lap, and then the next lap it can go completely peaked on, can't it?
Yeah, it's driving these cars on road tracks, it's the braking that's really difficult. So obviously we're always on the limit every single lap. When you push that slight bit too far, the extra weight of the car on a treaded tyre just is a recipe for disaster, and you can massively miss the corner and make it look like a superhero drifting around it, but you really don't feel like it when the gap in front just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, that's very, very true. It is all about carrying the momentum. Well, we'll leave you to it, mate, for the second one, but best of luck, and hopefully you'll get another good result. It's a good return for the championship anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, cheers mate, catch you in a bit.
Dan McCauley of CQR Club there. Good friend of mine, very good racer, and just slightly unlucky in that one not to have taken the win. But Ben Palmer, of course, absolutely flying in this championship then, doing a wonderful job. We'll look then in more detail at some of these boys going around then. We've got Michael Avdoka here. No, we've not. That's Jake Robertson. Michael Avdoka's just gone second in warm-up. And that's Mark Fletcher, fastest, and Billy Fletcher in third, with Harold Stadler in fourth. Billy Rose is back with us for this one, in the number 16 machine. The Subaru Impreza, Northern Lights Racing, very, very pretty machine that. Very pretty car. Looks like someone in front of him is doing a bit of a drifting session. I'll have to try and catch who that was. Might have been. Yep, you guessed it, Pete Harrod in the Subaru, chucking it around, having a bit of fun in these conditions before the session gets underway. He knows what he's doing, does Pete, as you can tell. I'm just sort of tensing up watching it. It's just exciting, isn't it? Everyone loves a bit of drifting. Niall Crowther joins us again for round 12. Niall's another one of those drivers, you know, even if he doesn't even finish in the top 10 in a race, he won't care. He'll just come back and enjoy it. He's just there for having a good time. Of course, his teammate, my brother, Matt Draycott, currently having PC issues, and he's got a new PC on the way, which is the good news, so he'll be back with us as of, I think, 2 weeks. Not the next round of the championship, but the one after, and he should be with us. Ant Woodward, we'll try and get more of him on screen this round. Sorry, Ant, and anyone that is watching. I do know that his girlfriend was watching as well. She's been sharing the streams on Facebook, so thank you very much for that. I did have your name actually pop up on a notification before when you shared it, but I won't lie to you, I don't remember your name off the top of my head, so I do apologise. And here is Steve Burke then. You cannot miss that Fiesta, can you? It's an incredibly bright machine. Is the Team Blizzard Motorsport Fiesta. Steve's been doing a great job so far this season as well. Of course, he only managed to get into a couple of rounds last season due to illness, taking him out of the rest of the season, but he's been in every single one so far from what I know, and he's doing a great job, and it's great fun to see him out there as well. Of course, he's really been enjoying it. We have 3 minutes of practice still to go. Looking like we're going to get a 16-car grid for this race. I think it's going to be one of the first times in the championship's history that we have more cars in race 1 than we do in race 2. Nerdy little fact for you then. I did actually prepare quite a lot of facts at the beginning of the season to give you about season 1. I'll just try and delve into one of those right now for you. Nice little tasty statistic. If I can find them, that is. They're not the easiest of things to find. As you can imagine with things like this, I've got 1,000,001 spreadsheets. I'm a fan of a spreadsheet, so I do have quite a lot of them just lying around with random facts and useless rubbish on them. And with a couple of minutes to go, we may as well, eh? Okay, so the average grid size for last season was 9 cars. 9.8, so essentially 10 cars. That was the average size, and so far this season I think the average is something like 15, 16. I think it's more than that actually, I think it's about 17. The largest grid last season was 15 cars, and we've had, I think that's the smallest grid we've had this season, which is good. VW Beetle only won 1 race last season, and that was the final race. It was Anthony Jacobson that won it. And all season, nobody put a Volkswagen Beetle on pole position. And I can tell you, for this season, we've had that once in the form of Harold Stadler at Lime Rock Park. He was the first guy to put a Volkswagen Beetle on pole. There's your completely irrelevant and boring fact of the day. Simon Field actually went fastest in practice there. Nicely done by Simon. Good to see him back out on track tonight. He's had a couple of rounds out of the championship. There is Craig Evans, the number 27 machine. He is streaming at the moment. If you wanted to go and check out his stream, it's twitch.tv/Ivanzo7. You'll hear me type furiously now as I put that into the chat for you. I'll even put a nice little HTTPS on there for you, just so it's nice and secure. So if you do want to go and have a look at Craig's stream, do feel free. He'll be having a good laugh while he's doing it. I did go and interrupt while he was practicing earlier and just shout at him, just for the sake of it. He does love me, so it's allowed. Hoping for Ben Gregory that he can get some more points on the board this round. He's had quite a long sabbatical this season from the championship, but he's back in and enjoying the Fiesta, of course. Pokey little machine as he pulls over there. It's the end of practice now. And can Dan McCauley win a race? We'll have to see. I think he's yet to win a race this season, actually. He is. Last season, I believe he won 3 races. It was 2 or 3. So pop your bets in, everyone. Who's going to win this one, then? I'll let you at least have a look at the grid first before you decide. And that grid will be with you in moments. Literal moments. You should have L grid. Here we go, then. So Anthony Woodward is on pole position alongside Craig Evans. Then it's Ben Gregory and Billy Fletcher on row 2. Simon Field and Steve Burke, the 2 veterans, line up on row 3. Then we've got Lewis Bibby and Jake Robertson, Mark Fletcher and Harold Stadler. Then it's Michael Avdoka 11th, Pete Harrod in 12th, Dan McCauley 13th with race 1 winner Ben Palmer in 14th place, Niall Crowther 15th, and Billy Rose in 16th place. And the lights are already coming on for the second race of the night, and round 12 of the Chazlington Touring Car Championship is away. They weren't held for long at all. Anthony pops off the line really well. Looks like a great start from Simon Field there. He's going to try and go around the outside of Ben Gregory. Oh, there's contact. Billy Fletcher has turned Ben Gregory's in front of the field. Simon Field comes back across. Oh, Jake Robertson's off. Jake Robertson makes big contact and goes into the wall. That was Ben Gregory as well. So I was saying that I was hoping Ben's going to get some points. I've commentated cursed him before the race even began. And into the lead goes Craig Evans. Posting a link to his stream must have helped his SEO or something, because he's gone right to the top there. It's like Google. Steve Burke's in 3rd place there. Simon Field in 6th. Simon had a great start. It's a shame nothing's coming in. Oh, wow, Avdoka gets sent. There's a traffic jam on the apex. And that's Billy Fletcher on his roof. Ben Palmer doesn't give one. He's going to try and help him out, actually, and turn him the right way. But wow, big contact between them lot there. It was just a little tap, I believe, between Billy Fletcher and Michael Avdoka, and then once they stopped on the apex, no one was expecting it. Avdoka's further down the order now. He's going to get chasing, because of course he has to think about Ben Palmer, who's in 10th at the moment. Oh, Anthony Woodward's gone off. He was 2nd and he's gone off at turn 1 and lost loads of places. That promotes Steve Burke to 2nd. Mark Fletcher's up to 4th. He's gained 5 places already. Billy Rose has gained 7 spots so far. He's up to 9th place. He's got Ben Palmer behind him and then the 2 other CQR Subarus in front in that little train. Steve Burke has taken the lead of the race. Lewis Bibby and Craig Evans got issues. And in the race, but he's had an issue there and he's slowed down a lot. He must have had a slowdown or something, but Steve Burke leading the way. You can tell I'm happy about it, can't you? Lewis Bibby in 2nd. Mark Fletcher wants to get his podiums back, but it's Fiestas 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Simon Field chasing him down in 4th. His fortunes have changed. I just want to have a look at what happened to Craig Evans. Billy Rose has dropped down the order. This is Ben Gregory and Jake Robertson. I'm trying to find Billy Rose here. Oh, there's contact with Palmer. Billy's sideways. Let's just go back a little bit. Into the corner they go. Oh, Ben tries to put it down the inside. Oh, as he gets on the power, he just hits him. And Stadler helps Billy as well. It's a shame there. Still in the order though, still in the fight. Looks like Billy's a bit further down the order. Actually, this is the back of the field here. These 4 together. Robertson, Gregory, Billy Rose at the front of this. There's battles all the way up and down the order. Here's Ant Woodward. He's got Dan McCauley in front of him. Pete Harrod behind him. These second races are absolutely mental. I do really struggle to keep up with it sometimes, I won't lie. I do apologise if it is a bit difficult to watch at points. But Steve Burke is still leading this race from Lewis Bibby, and then Mark Fletcher is putting him under pressure for the podium. And then it's Craig Evans and Simon Field together for 4th and 5th. So hopefully Steve can get a run out of here and try and get away from these boys. There's Ant Woodward in 7th. The very fast Pete Harrod behind. Pete's going to have to try and take advantage of this. So was that Dan Macaulay sideways? Someone was locking a brake. It might have been Craig Evans. Oh, Billy Rose and Jake Robertson. They're over. Let's have a look. Oh, Billy's sideways. Oh, the other Billy Fletcher tries to get out of it. Let's go back a little bit, see what happened. Oh, there's contact there. Jake Robertson into Gregory, and then Robertson into Rose, and then Fletcher into Robertson, who goes over. Oh, and it's... I think there was... some people going in the pits there. Mark Fletcher and Michael Avdoka. So Palmer's gone past them. Stadler's gone past Woodward down the inside. Harrod's gone past Woodward as well. Just before that. Trying to keep a track of all this. It's absolute mayhem. The field is very, very jumbled up. Niles in 10th at the moment. He has Ben Gregory and Mark Fletcher behind him. Sorry, Billy Fletcher. It's Mark Fletcher in 13th. And the race leaders in the pits. Wow, very close together. Steve Burke and Lewis Bibby. Oh, Bibby hits the wall on the way in, then he hits Burke. I hope he doesn't get a speeding penalty for that, because he pushed him over the line there and put him up to speed. I've never thought of using that tactic, actually. That's quite funny. Damage was off. I suppose you could get away with it. So Craig Evans inherits the lead. Anyway, let's keep this on topic. Simon Field is 2nd in the other Subaru. Then it's Pete Harrod in 3rd. Niall Crowther there flies up the order into 5th. There's just so many cars in the pit lane. Looks like Lewis Bibby's going to be the first one out. Steve Burke is taking his time in the pit lane. Is that to serve a speeding penalty? He's still sat there. He's still sat there. He's been there for 24 seconds. Oh, that's absolutely gutting for Steve. I thought he was on for a race win, and he's down to 15th now. He's still there. I'll have to come back to it. So the next car in the pits then is Anthony Woodward. He's realised that the cones are a bit further down the pit lane. Steve is finally coming out of the pits. Oh, he's going to be absolutely fuming. So gutting for him. Billy Fletcher then still in 14th. Just ahead of him is Ben Gregory there. Pete Harrod is in 3rd now, behind Simon Field on track. Niall Crowther's in the pit lane. Going down the order as everyone seems to scream past down the straight. Ben Palmer and Harold Stadler are close together with Michael Avdoka. This is a good scrap between these boys. These guys have all pitted as well. The lead car that's pitted is actually Mark Fletcher, who only did a 5.1 second pit stop. And that's very short. Usually these pit stops are about 6 seconds or more. Most of the guys that have pitted so far have actually done 5 seconds. So they're all trying to shave tenths and get as little fuel as possible, as Avdoka's trying to use as much road as possible. Palmer looks down the inside of Stadler. Gets it sorted on the brakes, doesn't make contact. Wow. Really good send from Ben there. Really nice stuff from Harold not to turn into him. Oh, and Avdoka's trying to get the overlap. I don't think Ben's managed to get past Stadler there. He's all over the back of him, gets in the brakes to make sure he doesn't hit him. Harrod comes in the pits from 2nd overall. Look at these guys trying not to make contact. They're absolutely glued together. It's probably going to make me feel sick, but we're going to go aboard with Michael Avdoka as we watch Palmer then down the inside of Harold Stadler into turn 1. On the brakes they go, trying to be as smooth as possible. Palmer's got it hooked up down the inside, and, well, Stadler's not giving his teammate any room. He says, no, not on your life, son. I want to make this fight mine. Around the double right. Oh, nearly contact again. Avdoka gets out of it. That's the difference, you see. A lot of drivers would have just sent that, but Pete Harrod has come out in front of these boys, and Mark Fletcher, it's looking like he's out off in the distance at the moment. He's 3rd overall, and he's 7 seconds up the road from these guys. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you count 7 seconds from when a car's gone past, it actually is. Craig Evans then just coming into the pit lane. He's going to stop. Simon Field is out on track. And here is your proverbial race leader. Mark Fletcher then crosses the line. He hasn't won a race this season. He may have had a 100% podium record, but he's still not won a race. 2nd is going to be Bibby. Macaulay's going to be 3rd. So Dan's made his way back up the order. He's gained 9 places. Billy Rose is up into 6th place. He's gained 10 places. He's actually just lost a spot to Harrod there. But Billy must have played a blinder with that strategy, pitting early because of his accident early on. Don't know whether he'll have enough fuel to the end, because we've only just about hit the halfway point here. Is Simon Field? No, he's not pitting actually, he's carrying on. Here's Dan McCauley chasing Lewis Bibby then. The Subaru against the Fiesta. As Evdoka and Stadler change places. This is very close to these pair. Dan's gone down the inside, he's got a bit sideways, he's going to try not to hit Bibby. Just a little scrape there as they go down the straight. Evdoka and Stadler, Evdoka's off, but he's carried on, so he's still at speed, but we want to go back to this. Or do we? Here's Palmer on the back of the two Northern Lights cars. Craig Evans goes down the inside of Billy Rose, but he's overdone it. He runs wide and Palmer gains the spot. Now he's in the sandwich, not a Big Mac. Palmer goes down the inside, he's hard on the brakes there to not hit Rose, he's sideways, he's going to get held up. Evans looks to go down the inside, gets out of it. All this time though, Palmer's losing ground. Pete Harrod is there ahead of him. But because of where they are in the field, Palmer's still going to end the evening by gaining points on Harrod. He may lose like 2 or 3 in this race. That's not going to be enough. Bibby is losing out to McCauley. That's commentator's curse if I've ever seen it. Although he's got a good run out the last corner. He's actually kept the position. Nicely done by Lewis Bibby, I think. Oh, Billy Rose and Craig Evans both in the pit lane. So that does unleash Ben Palmer then to chase after Pete Harrod. Mark Fletcher is 4 seconds nearly up the road from these guys. Ant Woodward is in 9th. There he is flying down the straight. Just crossing the line into turn 1. He's looking for another top 10. Billy Fletcher's had a bit of a tough evening in the championship. There's Craig stopping. Crowther just in the background there in 12th place. I've got no words. I'm really upset for Steve Burke in that. I don't know whether he got a speeding penalty. We'll have to drag him in afterwards and have a look. See what the situation is. Simon Field there, just going around turn 1. He might have had a bit of a moment there with Billy Rose as Billy came out the pit lane. Oh, he's just avoiding him there. Billy's on the racing line. He's not helping matters there, to be honest. But he carries on. Mark Fletcher's 17 seconds back then from Simon Field, and the pit lane time for most of these guys has been between 34 to 37 seconds. So it'll be interesting, and Steve Burke was 1 minute and 15 seconds in the pits. Craig Evans has come out again after another pit stop, so I'm not sure what's happened there. Simon's sideways, out the final corner. 10 minutes done. Is that car going to make it on fuel? It's going to be interesting to see. Harrod has overtaken Dan McCauley. And here's how it happened. This better be a good move, because look how far back he is. Oh, I think Dan got a slowdown. Must have done. You could see Evdoka and Stadler in the background there fighting away. They still are, by the way. Look, there they are. The two Beatles. They are actually effectively teammates. They're both part of Fitzstein Motorsport. One is Tech Sense, the other is Renvale. But Lewis Bibby has got a CQR assault on his backside right now as, well, McCauley makes an assault on the back of Pete's car. I won't lie, I mean, I'm slightly biased because I'm in a team with them, but I know what these boys are like. If this was a practice session or just a mess about with the CQR guys, the back of this car would not be looking at those behind it at the moment. It would have been fired off 2 corners ago. But Harrod, McCauley and Palmer all putting pressure on Lewis Bibby, and Lewis soaking it up. So, your race leader Simon Field's in the pit lane anyway. He's still coming in the pits. So Mark Fletcher's going through. And he's going to cross the line to start the 14th lap of the race. Simon is just leaving the pits now, lights up the rears. Whereabouts is he going to come out? So there's the CQR boys going through. Looks like he's going to be... yeah, he's going to come out in 6th, so it's worked out all right for him there. He's kept his nose clean. But this is the fight we want to look at then. Lewis Bibby, Pete Harrod and Dan McCauley. This is for the last podium spot. Pete is really close to the back of Lewis there. Doesn't make contact. Palmer's waiting in the wings for something to happen so he can pick up the points. Harrod just needs to keep it steady now. Just do what he can with this situation. Not overdrive it, not make a mistake. He doesn't want to hit the back of Bibby. That's the worst thing he could do right now. You can see he's just controlling it as best he can. He doesn't want to go for anything too rash, really. But of course Palmer's going to want him to. Oh, was that Simon Field with a slowdown? No, he was just taking a different line out the last corner by the look of it. It's going to be a good result for Bibby if he can hold on second. He's got 2 minutes to do it yet. So another 2 laps. Probably get 2 more after this one as well, to be honest, so it gets even more difficult for Lewis as Pete is right with him. On the brakes they go. You just don't want to brake too hard and step the car out. Look at him hugging the apex. He's really working this car as best he can. Pete puts his nose down the inside, upsets Bibby's momentum slightly, doesn't quite get it done. I'm going to go on the blimp cam so you can just see how close these guys are through every single corner. Look at it, Concertina up into the last corner there. They go out the final corner. Pete tries to carry the momentum. He's not going to get much slipstream because these cars are pretty much all going to do the same speed in a straight line. That's how we've worked the gearing out. Look at Ben close on the brakes there at the back. Carries good corner speed though, does Pete. He's so close to the back of him. I'm really amazed there hasn't been contact yet. Look how close that is. Can't get much closer than that. McCauley nearly hits the back of Harrod. He doesn't want to lose a place to Palmer though. And Ben's gone down the inside. He's sideways though, he gets out of it. Pete's trying to get an overlap on Bibby. He puts his nose down the inside, brakes early, makes sure he doesn't hit him. And still Lewis Bibby's in front. Evdoka and Stadler are apparently having a bit of a fight. Oh, they've made contact going into the hairpin. They both carry on. Stadler's still in front. But this battle's still raging on. Pete looks like he's going to get a good exit out of the final corner here. Is he going to get the run on Lewis Bibby? We'll go back to the TV camera as they come flying down the straight then. 1 more lap to go. Mark Fletcher out in front, of course, still leading this race on his own. With this brilliant scrap and brilliant defensive drive from Lewis Bibby as Harrod goes round the outside of turn 1. Is he going to make that stick? Surely he isn't. He does. Pete Harrod, what a move, but he's gone sideways into turn 2. Bibby's got down the inside. Surely, though, Harrod's going to get the cutback. There's contact. Bibby runs wide. He's going to get his foot back in. Oh, I really hope he doesn't lose all those places, but he's looking like he's going to. McCauley's on the inside of Harrod, though. McCauley runs wide. Palmer's going to go down the inside now. They're 3 wide into the third to last corner. Harrod makes contact with McCauley, and Bibby's going to go through. He's done it. Bibby goes back through. McCauley sends it on Lewis Bibby, though. That was not on. That's not on at all. He gets out of it. Bibby gives it him back. Mark Fletcher's going to take the win. Across the line he goes. Who's going to get this next? Ben Palmer comes across the line. It's going to be Palmer from Harrod, from McCauley, Bibby, Simon Field. I don't know about that. Well, you see Dan McCauley there taking that out on Palmer. But Mark Fletcher finally wins a round of the Chazlington Touring Car Championship. And it looks like that Fiesta's just out of fuel as well. Just see the other guys coming across the line. Wow, Ben Gregory's in orbit. There's Ant Woodward sliding sideways. Billy Fletcher finishes 11th. It is Niall Crowther finishing in 12th, just ahead of Billy Rose there in 13th place. Steve Burke, really such a shame for Steve there, finishing 14th. Craig Evans last of the points finishers, and Jake Robertson actually didn't finish the race. But there's your race winner, Mark Fletcher. Well, what a crazy... well, there's Billy giving him a congratulations of sorts anyway. That's the way you do it in the Chazlington Touring Car Championship. So there's your results then for race 2 of the night. Mark Fletcher for Radicals Online MOATF, which means my opinion and therefore fact, wins the race from Ben Palmer, Pete Harrod and Dan McCauley, with Lewis Bibby in 5th. Although I must admit, I don't really like protests and incidents, things like that. But that may need a bit looking at, that last bit. Yeah, I'm not going to say too much more on that at the moment. Simon Field, 6th place. Harold Stadler, 7th, with Michael Evdoka in 8th. Ben Gregory, 9th, and Anthony Woodward rounds out the top 10. Billy Fletcher comes home in 11th place ahead of Niall Crowther, with Billy Rose in 13th place. Then Steve Burke is 14th ahead of Craig Evans, and Jake Robertson did not finish the race. So we're going to turn the music down just a touch. A bit quicker than I would have liked there. And we're going to drag in, well, who shall we drag in? Well, there's only one person that we can bring in here. It's Mark Fletcher. He takes the win at long last. Mark, I bet you've been absolutely beaming after that, mate. That was brilliant.
Mate, it only took 7 rounds.
Well, you finally got it done, though, eh?
I'm more gutted I missed the podium in the first race. I was raging.
Yeah, indeed, as well. Obviously, you didn't even qualify third, mate. So it was gone before that. It's gone before that.
No, exactly. Not even anywhere close.
Indeed, but well, you must be happy though, mate. You know, it's finally done. Finally got the job sorted.
Yeah, I risked it on fuel. I did what I'm going to call a Palmer special, and just hoped that I'd make it. And evidently, I had a corner to spare.
Well, thankfully, you went for that risk, though, mate. It obviously paid off for you. Well, we've got obviously another 2 meetings coming up, of course. Motegi West is the next one. It's a nice, simple circuit, but we've got a night race as the second race. How do you think this championship's going to fare with that sort of vendetta against itself?
Yeah, I think it'd be a good laugh. We always have a right laugh. You can see how many people, are in each Discord. 6 or 7 guys. We're all chatting through the race. It's just good fun championship. It's tough racing now and again. But hey, that's how it goes.
Indeed. And you were obviously in the chat with Billy and some of the boys tonight. How did Billy find it? Did he enjoy it?
Yeah. I think he, like me, wish we'd partaken a bit earlier. We, maybe not giving Ben a run for his money, but we could have kept him honest a little bit. But now everyone seems to have a right laugh, and it's good that the teams can mix together and we just meet new people. Yeah,
well, that's what it's all about. You've got to have a bit of fun in these things, and I want to provide that for you. I tell you what, actually, just to make it a little bit interesting, we'll drag Billy in as well. Of course, his debut tonight in the series. I was just asking Mark how you got on, Billy, but we'll get it straight from the horse's mouth. How did you find that?
Oh, he's moving himself back out. Look, he's got stage fright.
He's run away.
Yeah,
he's run away.
Back in.
Well, he's in the Interview Me channel, so it's kind of his own fault. But yeah, well, it's just great to see you finally get a win, if I'm honest, Mark, because it's been you've been knocking on the door for a while, haven't you?
Yeah. Now I don't have to prove anything.
Well, indeed. Now you've got a position number 1 to go with all them ones that are on the door.
Well, exactly. There's got to be something in there.
Exactly, mate. Well, before I let you go, buddy, and obviously we've got Motegi next week. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to before we speak to you then? I'm sure.
Just all you guys, you, your brother, and everyone that I met on the weekend at Autosport. We had a good laugh, and it was great to put some faces to the names.
Yeah, definitely.
And just all the Radicals guys, they support us. Me and Billy with whatever we want to do, and even Rob sometimes goes, "Oh yeah, what are you doing that for?" But it's all promotion for the team, innit?
Exactly, mate. It's all about the exposure, and as long as you're enjoying yourself while doing it, then win-win.
Yeah, loving it. Absolutely loving it, mate.
Cracking. Well, we'll speak to you next week, I'm sure, Mark. Have a good one, mate.
Cheers, Chaz. Speak to you soon.
Mark Fletcher there, very ecstatic, very enthusiastic bloke. Brilliant to speak to him as always. And we'll bring him someone now who I've not spoken to for a little bit, actually. As we cut to a scene of him trying to make it through the chaos, it's Harold Stadler in the Renvale Fitzstein Motorsport Beetle. That was a bit rough and tumble in places, Harold, but how was your night overall from your perspective?
Hey Jess, hey everyone. Well, first I have to say I survived race 1.
Yes.
And I also survived somehow race 2. It was a bit harder to survive race 2 actually, but yeah, I survived.
Well, I was saying that you were putting the bets on early on in that one, so it was good to see that it came to fruition. What was the racing like from your point? It seemed pretty clean most of the night until a couple of incidents at the end. I mean, it got a bit frantic, but did you find it was a bit cleaner tonight on a bit of a wider track?
Well, race 1 I can't say anything because I was most time on P2 in the opening laps, and after the pit stops the field was spread out, so no idea how race 1 looked. Race 2 was a little bit in the early laps, a bit, yeah. There were some incidents, but I could sneak through. I don't know, I haven't seen if there was any sort of, I think racing incidents the most, but yeah, I haven't seen how they take off the incidents, but yeah, at least this time I had the luck to came through.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to see you surviving that first race, and obviously getting by all the incidents and so on. We're going to Motegi West next week, which is I was just saying to Mark Fletcher, it's a very simple circuit, but race 2 is going to be a night race. It's actually quite well lit there. How do you think that's going to go with so many guys out on track causing chaos?
do these cars have headlights? I think Motegi has a lot of floodlight, right?
Yeah, that's the reason we only do it there, I suppose. I was going to try and do it here, but it's not very well lit.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I don't remember exactly which of the two short layouts is the west layout. Is it the one with the original start-finish line, start-finish straight, or the other one?
It's the original start-finish line. So it's basically a double apex turn one, a back straight, and then a chicane and a hairpin, and then you're back on the main straight again. It's a very it's almost like a Mario Kart track.
Yeah. Okay, then it's this kind of, though it's maybe a little bit shorter than Okayama now. Yeah, I think it will be the same like here. It's Motegi is a little bit wider than Okayama, so there shouldn't be that much incidence. I think there's more space to go 2 wide, and I think even 3 wide at some places.
Yeah.
Sounds like we will get a lot of fun next week.
Yeah, definitely. It's not too difficult, so hopefully some of these guys can figure out their brake pedals and keep it on the road. But until then, mate, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to? And I'm sure we'll speak to you next week anyway, but do you want to say bye to anyone for now?
Yeah, of course. My team, Texans Fitzstyle Motorsport, Renwell, our sponsors, Texans, Renwell, 5CRC and Demon Tweaks and such. And yeah, of course, you for the series and for broadcasting it. Yeah, thank you.
No worries, mate. Thank you very much. It's good to speak to you again, and I'm sure I'll speak to you at Motegi anyway.
See you next week.
See ya. Smashing stuff. Always good to speak to him there. Someone that has popped into the interview room that I do want to have a quick word with. I know it's a bit of a sore subject, but Steve, what happened in that race, mate?
I know. I was did well at the start, managed to get into second and then into first, and didn't feel like I was getting that much pressure from Lewis and Mark. They seemed to be fighting between themselves. And then, just pit entry. Tried to get the car slowed down because you try and come in as hot as you can. Unfortunately, Lewis just picked the back of the car up and pushed me over the speed limit. So, yeah.
Right, okay. I did think that was the case. I was saying I really hope that he hadn't pushed you past the speed limit. How much of a time penalty did it give you though? Because it seemed pretty severe. I thought it was usually like just 10 seconds.
Yeah, 40 seconds. I've not had a 40-second speed penalty before, and
no.
Yeah, that was a 45-second pit stop. Obviously, put me at a slight disadvantage going forward there.
Yeah, just a bit, considering the other ones were, well, I'm looking at the list now, it's between 5 and 7 seconds, so a little bit of a disadvantage to say the least. Main thing is, though, did you enjoy tonight? It's a pretty good track for these cars, isn't it?
Yeah, I did enjoy it. The racing's really good. The guys are really good. The track was hard. It was better in the second race, cooler temperature and a bit more grip, but yeah, great fun.
Smashing stuff, mate. Well, good to speak to you as always, Steve, and of course it was good to see you on the weekend as well, and I'm sure we'll speak to you very soon. Do you want to give I'll get my words out, I'll put my teeth back in. Do you want to give a quick shout out to anyone, mate?
Just anybody watching and supporting the championship, Abbey Motorsport and Team Lizard Motorsport.
Cracking stuff, mate. Well, I'm sure I'll speak to you in a bit anyway, but yeah, we'll try and speak to you at Motegi as well.
Thanks. Cheers.
Steve Burke there, and normally I only do 2 or 3 interviews, but I'm going to drag him in and try and force him to speak to me. It's Billy Fletcher from Radicals. Are you going to stick around this time, buddy?
I didn't leave on purpose.
Here he is. How did you find that, mate, on your debut?
That was good fun. Just a bit of a lack of experience racing with other cars, with that car in particular. Struggling with the brakes a little bit, and as you saw at the start, that second race, that did go a touch wrong.
Yeah, it's not the easiest of things to slow down on tarmac, because once it goes sideways, it somehow carries all of its momentum still. How did you find the racing around you? I mean, we're just looking at a good shot of you here chasing Gregory, Robertson and Rose. It looked like you got into quite a few good scraps, though, throughout the races. Yeah,
it was really good fun. The guys raced really well. As I said, every accident I got into was my own doing, just overdriving a touch, not knowing where the limit of the car was. But that'll come with experience. I'm hoping that next week it'll be a little bit more cleaner for me. I had to apologise for a couple of people.
Well, at least you're holding your head up and apologising for it, mate. A lot of drivers wouldn't, so fair play to you, buddy. But it was obviously good to see you on the weekend at Autosport, and of course good to see you finally getting into the championship. And is there anyone you want to give a shout out to before we go to Motegi next week?
Obviously, well done to Mr. Fletch. Finally getting that win.
Yeah.
Well done to him. It's always eludes him getting that win, but good job on him to getting that. And then obviously, little shout out to Radicals and to Luxon as well for the boys. And it's good to see you over the weekend as well.
Cracking stuff, mate. Well, thank you very much for popping in, and we'll obviously see you next time round at Motegi and see how we get on there.
Good, mate. Have a good week. Take care.
Cheers. Billy Fletcher there from Radicals Online. And of course, that means that it is that time of the evening where the stream must come to an end. Thank you very much, everybody, for popping along and watching. It's been a great, fun evening. I can't believe it's already flown by. We've been an hour and a quarter streaming already. 2 races out of the way. It's already 9:15. And I tell you what, my head is absolutely going to explode. It feels like that's just constant chaos all the way through. But yeah, like I say, I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a fantastic evening. It was, of course, great to see a lot of the guys at Autosport as well. Thank you, everyone, for making that such a fantastic experience. Of course, do make sure you check out Chazlington on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. I do have a lot of exciting things coming up that will be announced about this year, especially on the Facebook page, which is where I post most of the content. And I will hopefully see all of you next time round. As for now, have a good evening.